All right, we're live. I'm pretty excited about that. I basically took yesterday off for Easter, so yeah, and rest, which actually ended up being really good. But if you guys were watching for a live stream, you probably were right to be watching for one because I need to be working daily on this graphic novel in order to get it done. And what is this graphic novel for anybody who might be kind of curious? So I'm not going to plug my stuff too much. If you guys are curious to check out artwork or books that I am going to plug one book at the beginning because I got the artist copies in today, like the author copies. And this isn't like the preview. The prior versions that I had were like these, where they have like a nice little advanced reader copy thing. There's a few little things on the interior that weren't edited, and then the spine doesn't actually match what it'll finally look like. It just has like the release date on it, so it says like June 2022, and this is what goes to reviewers, that kind of stuff. So today, I came home to like a box that has the final copies of my graphic novel that's coming out in June called Jacob's Apartment. So I'll probably show a little bit. Keith said the reminder time was correct in chats. That's awesome, Keith. I'm glad they got on that. Um, I wonder if that was just a glitch the last time or something. Anyhow, so for people who might be tuning in for the first time, I if you want to see more about my books and stuff like that, my book Jacob's Apartment that's coming out in June, as well as two stories, my autobiographical graphic novel that's currently out, like are both linked to you down below, and so I don't want to get too heavily into it. And then on this stream, what I've been doing is working on two stories book two, and then I switched gears because there's a book that is like a 230 page graphic novel that I need to illustrate illustrate in less than 365 days. That's actually a collaboration. It's the first graphic novel that I've done in a long time that is written by somebody else, and it's written by my sister. And so we got a publishing deal for this book called Not Death But Love: The Strange Supernatural Story of Elizabeth Barrett Browning. And so it's a historical graphic novel that's about Elizabeth Barrett Browning and her strange supernatural story. And what's fun is during these streams, I'm basically working on it page by page. So you guys have been, Philip, who's joining in the chats, Keith, whoever else is watching his. Hopefully, if you've watched the live stream since this started, you've been able to watch like the research that goes into each page, and then the roughs, which are what I'm going to be working on tonight. I'm going to be roughing page 7. We already have like a thumbnail and some research to kind of go from, and then to the final, which we completed page 6 yesterday. And I was pretty stoked because this morning I woke up feeling kind of guilty because I had taken Easter off, and I woke up to an email from my publisher, West Margin Press, who's working, obviously to put this book together with us. And they basically just said that this last page is stunning, which is really cool. That's what you want to hear from your publisher. And literally no changes. So we're on to the next page. So now I'm going to work on roughs. Before I get into that, though, speaking of stunning, I am so thrilled. Let me pull this up. I am so thrilled about this book. So this is the final copy of Jacob's Apartment, and so and the neat thing is it also has some really neat touches. Like there's this character in it that's a little dinosaur, and so if you see this in the bookstore and you look really carefully at the spine, you're going to see the little dinosaur right there on the spine, and that little detail just kind of made my day. It also has the new quotes by Maggie Thrash and my friend Theo Ellsworth, who is kind enough, an old friend from Portland, who's a brilliant illustrator in his own right. I think I mentioned him a couple streams ago, but there he is. There's his quote. And then there's David Chelsea, who's actually probably going to be on this week's Artcasters, giving a nice quote, pull quote for the back of the book. And then we also have, I will tell you, the finish on this just made me so happy. As nerdy as it is, it's like matte, but it's flush. Like there's this like soft touch mat that's kind of cool that Two Stories has, and I like it. The downside of the soft touch is when you have the book for a while, you pick it up, you read it, you pick it up, you read it a couple times, you end up with like fingerprints all over it. And this is like that nice, like retail mat. Like this is I don't know, it just feels really substantial and cool. And I was just really excited. I think Graphic Mundi did a brilliant job printing this lovely book. And then, of course, the interiors are all worked out and finalized and perfected. So like even the way like the cropping on the interiors is just much more meticulous. The guillotine cut that they did on the edges is just like it's flush. I mean, I should show you, but you just basically need to pre-order one or just ask your local bookstore to carry this. It's a book that's done in the vein of Eternal Sunshine for the Spotless Mind or Ghost World. It's a doomed romance story that basically talks about these two characters' interconnected lives and also talks about the questions that can shake even the strongest of faith, and also has interweaving dream sequences and stuff. But I'm really excited about it. I'll probably play a trailer for this later on. I'm trying to get away from doing plugs at the beginning, but I couldn't help but be thrilled at just the fun of being an author and like coming home from work to like a pack of these, like 15 of these in a box on my doorstep, ready to go. And I just had that brief moment of excitement that I think you guys have all had. Um, oh man, Landon has a really good question. Um, so yeah, just kind of a beautiful thing to think about this in like Barnes and Nobles and like bookstores everywhere. Landon, you have a great question. Uh, Landon says, question for you, Josh. Why do you choose to go through a publisher when so many have gone to crowdfunding in order to cut the middleman? So the catch is like, I mean, if I were like a huge creator and I could make like $200,000 or something, um, crowdfunding, then yeah, I mean, it crowdfund. So like there's insane cases of like wild success. The thing that comes to mind is something like Jason Brubaker's Remind. Things along that kind of note are incredible. But when you're talking about like most Kickstarters kind of pulling a couple grand for the printing of the books, maybe 10 at most, and then you end up with a stack of books in your garage or in your apartment or wherever you're storing your books, and then you have the distribution problem. You're mailing them out, and then once you've fulfilled those orders, you're kind of bound to like the crowd that you riled up or that Kickstarter riled up or whatever. Um, it's never, it's always going to be limited by the distributor. So one of the reasons that I've chosen to go through the publishing route is if the book takes off, it's much more lucrative. In the case of Graphic Mundi, it's distributed through Diamond distribution. So like the chance of me now, keep in mind, I'm not like a huge creator, but because Graphic Mundi pushes books, and then if I do some ground pushing on the books, and then also Graphic Mundi's getting some ins with libraries. And so they're meeting with librarians and going to like librarian conventions and like passing out free copies. And then those libraries will make orders. So for me, Landon, just to answer your question about like why you choose a traditional publisher, to me, the biggest advantage of a traditional publisher is first off, editorial. Kendra, the editor of Jacobs at Graphic Mundi, is brilliant. She made suggestions for my book that actually improved it and made it better. Number two, they have dealt with offset printing a lot more directly. And so like when they source a printer, they're getting a much better deal on it. And that cut isn't coming out of my advance that I got from my publisher. Number three, if it doesn't make it past advance, it still makes it into the bookstores, right? And so if it's a failure on the bookshelves, so be it. If it's a success, it's distributed everywhere, and those stores reorder, right? And so when you have a book that sells and then it reorders and reorders and reorders, you're talking about like mass passive income. And so on like to me, crowdfunding is exciting and awesome, and I'd never rule it out. I was really close to crowdfunding two stories, my first book. Um, and I did like a Hail Mary pass. And at that point, like I lucked out, and that pass got me a literary agent who could get me pitches to different people. And so that's kind of led to, for me, like a spiral of like starting with a very small indie, working my way up to an indie that I very much admire. Like Graphic Mundi, if you look at their site, just like the pantheon of what they're putting out is really impressive. I'm honestly really flattered and stunned to kind of be a part of that. And they have a promotions team that's helping with the promotion and getting me reviews. Like two stories never got a review in Publishers Weekly because it's a much smaller indie. I've gotten a review in Publishers Weekly. I've gotten reviews in Forward Magazine. All reviewers that librarians look at, and librarians are half the game in publishing. So there's a bunch of advantages of having a publisher. Huge advantages. I would say that if you're going to go the traditional publishing route and you're writing your own stories, get a literary agent. That would be my best tip, because I think that if you go into like a large publishing contract with a large publishing firm, and you don't have an agent to kind of iron out the contract for you, you could get screwed. You could get screwed on ownership rights, film rights, that kind of stuff. And luckily, I have a really good literary agent who makes sure that we're retaining film rights throughout the process. Like with the first two books that I put out, and with this third book, I believe Lavender retains the film rights. And then the neat thing is, each time you get a deal, it goes to Publishers Marketplace, and then like publishers kind of hear about it. You get contacted. Like Jacob's Apartment was already sent to a scout who was kind of looking for film stuff. It never got signed or made into a film, but I've never had that happen with like an independent book, where within a week of like announcing that it got kickstarted or something, I'm getting emails from like the acquisitions people from like major film companies. So I'm not trying to brag or anything, because I'm like a nobody in comics, but it's huge. The difference between a publisher and a non-publisher are huge. There's a reason that a lot of the guys I know that we've had them on the Artcasters, but like the Fan Brothers aren't kickstarting their kids' books. They're legends in children's books, and they aren't legends because they kickstarted. Now, they did self-publish their own stuff for a long time, when it came to like T-shirts and art and stuff like that, and they built up a following online, and they were pretty like much memes all over the internet. So that was very useful. But when they got a deal with Simon and Schuster, that's when like suddenly they're getting reviewed. They're like on bookshelves right next to Sendak, right? Like your kid goes to the bookstore, they're not like looking at like indies kickstarted, unless it's a really independent bookstore. Like they're going to the kids section and they're looking at the children's books there. Maybe even going to like a Walmart or whatever, and it's like, boom, there's Dogman. That's like, to me, that's the big advantage of publishers. But again, I'm also doing a different game, because if you were doing like superhero comics or like more mainstreamy kind of comics, Kickstarter might actually be a better route than the traditional publishing route. I don't know enough about that realm of comics to kind of advise people. But if you're doing like indies, and particularly if you're interested in what I'm interested in, which is like comics as literature, like I've had this like dream my whole life of comic books being treated like literature. And let me know in the chats if this is at all interesting. I don't have to ramble about this too much. But my point is, like, I want my books like at the same place that's selling like J.D. Salinger's Catcher in the Rye. That's my ideal scenario. And going the self-published route just isn't going to get me there. So traditional publishing is much more interesting to me. For possibility of like distribution is the main thing. Distribution, promotion, and reputation. Like, a lot of people, a good example, my friend one of my friends from graduate school, Jenny Cotterill, really good artist. You guys should look her up online. But when we were in grad school, she used to play in like indie bands and stuff, and like play guitar, and like she had like a somewhat popular thing on YouTube where she was doing like a cover band of punk bands and stuff like that. The difference between the following that her band had and like the kind of gigs they could book between then when I knew her and when she got a deal with Fat Records and is suddenly booked at like tours all over the US and like headlining and doing supporting shows with like legendary punk bands. You just can't get that. Like you can't buy that with like indie. Like you can kind of get there with indie. You can get interest to that like kind of mainstream with indie. And Fat Records again, small record label. Like so far, all the publishers I'm dealing with are small publishers, but I think it's kind of similar in that sense where a lot of bands will argue record labels are dead, but still, just kind of the mystique of being able to be in a record label, it kind of puts you in the pantheon with other people. It connects you with all the connections that label has already built, all the distribution channels that they've already built, all the venues they've already booked, and so on. So it really is just a matter of like what route you want to go. For me, like again, like self-publishing, I have no judgments against. I think it's great. I think if you can make a lot of money self-publishing, that's great. And it also depends on what your aim is, right? Like if my aim were to make a real quick buck, I'd probably self-publish. But I'm not in this for like a quick buck. Like I have a day job where I'm an art director and I'm pretty happy with my income. So I mean, of course, I want to make money off of my art, but like money is not why I'm doing these books. I'm doing these books for readers, and the way you get to readers is distributors. And I know there's like this fiction out there that like comic sales are dying and stuff like that. But in reality, if you look at it, the numbers for graphic novels and like literary comics have like shot through the roof lately. And so this year was like one of the strongest years in like 30 years. I want to be in on that train. I'm not judging anyone who goes the other route. Most of my favorite artists started self-publishing. Raw was self-published. That was Art Spiegelman's, publications, and Art Spiegelman's one of my favorite guys. Jeff Smith self-published Bone. But then again, like even Jeff Smith got to a point with cartoon books where he was making millions, I believe, just off his own self-published work, but just the distribution and like the kind of logistics nightmare of kind of running a shop like that when you're getting that many orders. When Image originally reached out to him, I think he very happily kind of handed that off, but obviously retained his rights, but it still was with Image. Broader distribution, more people start knowing about Bone. Suddenly you have like, Scholastic signing Bone, and now Scholastic is getting Bone like ordered in kids like it's that realm you can't get to with indies, where it's like, how many of us remember in elementary school when you're a kid and you're sitting in class and then your teacher passes out the Scholastic pamphlet, right? Because kids can make orders of books. Now kids can order Bone. Like they can take that home and be like, dude, mom, you got to order me like these copies of comics and Dog Man and all of these things. Anyone who like talks crap about mainstream publishers, I understand, like especially considering like the big two have bad reputations and stuff like that. And I don't really care honestly about the big two. Like I really don't. I don't mean that as a negative. It's just like, to me, like my ambitions aren't like Marvel and DC. My ambitions are like Fantagraphics or like Drawn and Quarterly, or doing more of that route where it's like, it's a different game, So anyhow, Landon, that was a long-winded answer, but I hope that kind of explains why I would choose to do a publisher. I can also say this, like I've already made money off these books, like not tons, but like I got an advance for Jacobs. I got an advance for this book I'm doing here, and the advance that I got for the book I'm currently working on is probably what I would raise on Kickstarter, having to do the same amount of work. And then half of that amount that I'd raised on Kickstarter, I would have put into the printing of the books and shipped them out. So I probably would have gotten a loss at the end of the day on it. So anyhow, that's kind of my thinking on it. Oh, and then film and licensing, right? Because at the end of the day, people get a different perception of things when they see them in stores. It's a weird thing that I've personally experienced. My first self-published comic, Numb, was carried by Diamond, and so it was ordered not at a ton of comic shops. And it's weird because the numbers aren't that big. Like, one comic shop would order like 5. Keep in mind, this was like a self-published book at the time. So like one comic shop in like Michigan would order like 5, and then one in Detroit, one in Ann Arbor, right? Like there'd be like comic shops all over the US that would order like 1 to 5 books, which would equal like thousands of books like that they had all ordered. And and that was cool, but then the weird thing was my ability to get press just because they were in stores, even though it was like one copy at each store, was like exacerbated and much more possible. And then I remember friends who could care less about the comic the whole time I had made it were suddenly really interested in the comic because they were at the comic shop and they saw my book. There was just something about it being in the shop that just makes it more substantial for people. I'm not saying that's right that it's like that, but that's definitely the scenario where I think something about it being in a store makes a big difference. If you can handle a good distribution network and stuff like that, and again, like I think of like Remind by Jason Brubaker as like a perfect example. That's great, but for me, I also don't want to do shipping and receiving. I just don't. So there's so many benefits to having a publisher, but that's kind of my thought on it. The downside, you get a lower cut of the profits. You're usually getting a percentage of royalties, but the upside is like it's all passive income, and you have like a bit of a support system. So we'll see, but I could be wrong. I mean, it could be the wrong call, but so far it's worked very much in a way that I'm kind of blown away by. Like currently, I'm really excited. Like even this book about the Brownings, I'm totally just that. What a good question, because I haven't even started my roughs. This book about the Brownings is a really good example. The publisher has published Elizabeth Barrett Browning's poetry, and so they know how to market the Brownings. So it's like there's that too, right? Where it's like we're writing a book about the Brownings. It's going to be published by somebody who publishes the Brownings. That doesn't hurt, because they already know that market. They know the stores that are interested in ordering that. And I mean, again, like, we'll see how it goes with this publisher. The only ones I can really speak heavily to is like Graphic Mundi, my latest publisher of Jacob's Apartment. It's been such a just wonderful experience. And again, I've had no like corporate CEOs or anything like telling me what to do with it. In fact, quite the opposite. Kendra basically made like 2 suggestions that made the story a million times better. And I wouldn't have done suggestions that would have ruined the story. But if you're with a good editor, they're going to give you cold, hard, honest, beautiful feedback, and it's all for the good of the book. And so you end up with a better book for it. So yeah, that's my take on publishers. But again, if you're going to go that route, especially if you're writing your own stuff, then make sure that you get a literary agent to kind of represent you, and so their legal team can kind of take a look at contracts and make sure you're not getting screwed over. And of course, your literary agent's going to take a cut, but that cut is well worth it because they do a lot of work on the front end for free, in belief of your book. So anyhow, so that's the long-winded answer. Now let's get into the fun stuff. Okay. That was a really good question, though. I don't often talk about that. I am really a big fan of self-publishing, though, too. I cut my teeth self-publishing, and I love it. Okay. So if you're out there and you're like kickstarting books, guess what? You're doing the same thing. Like you're publishing books, and congratulations. Like the whole point of this is to get books out. I don't really care how they're published or printed. At the end of the day, I just like good books, and I like more books being in the hand of readers. And to me, it's just the main selling points are distribution, reach, and readership. Oh, and librarians. Librarians is a big one. Librarians are so important for book sales. because they're advocates for books. Like they get it in communities, they get people to read them, they promote literacy. They're often like the first people in court to defend a book if it's getting banned. It's if you are making books, especially comic books, especially graphic novels, and especially literary graphic novels, like next time you go to a library, like high five your librarian, because those people have been like 90% of the reason that graphic novels are now in bookstores and considered literature. It's mostly hard work that librarians did, and so I really do think as comic creators, we should be really thankful for librarians because they're why there's a surge in graphic novel sales. I really can't speak highly enough of librarians. And I know there's like a lot of there's a lot of people who might have a different opinion. I don't know. I would think if you're a bookmaker and you don't like librarians, I don't know what would be wrong with you, because librarians are key, and librarians look at specific reviews. They look to Publishers Weekly. They look at Forward magazine. They look at like a bunch of different key magazines. The New York Times like looks to specific reviewers before they review something. Like there's a whole network, and publishers are kind of access to that. Self-publishers can access that. It's just a lot more work. Anyhow, Keith just said, shh. Okay, I'm going to get to work. But anyhow, a lot of good reasons. If I had known, yeah, my wife's even like, okay, Josh. Yeah, if I'm gonna continue about it, maybe I'll talk about that while I'm working my roughs. But the last thing I'll say on it, if I had known that if I had known the literary agent thing earlier on in my career, it would have benefited me a lot. And I would say, like, if you're a new creator, especially if you're developing your own graphic novels, first finish the book, make it as good as you possibly can make it with no concerns outside of that. So make a really good book. Then, when you're done, craft your pitch, and don't craft it for publishers, craft it for literary agents. Get an agent, have them do your pitch. They'll help you work a pitch out that's better. It'll get you a better deal. It'll get eyes on your book that you can't even enter. It gets your book at the top of the stack, even at publishers that take open submissions. It's a really good route to go. And also it'll give you moral support when you're going through the hellish experience of like submission and rejection and submission and rejection, which is honestly why a lot of people don't do Kickstarters, right? Is a fear of rejection. And a lot of people honestly don't do publishers because of a fear of rejection. Like they submit a couple times, get rejected, and then get dismayed, and they're like, I'll just put it out myself. Okay, so anyhow. Oh, Keith was doing a librarian joke. That just flew right over my head. Okay, so right here on the screen, this is the page that we finished last time. And I think I was like, it was really late at night, and I was like, it's kind of done. I'm going to call it done. I woke up the next day and was like, that's a really good page. I'm really excited about this page. So I don't know, something about this process is really making me excited. So let's get into the next page, which we already started a couple days ago. And I am kind of curious how everybody's doing in the chats. Yeah, it's kind of like well, anyhow, I'm gonna stop my rant. This is like my little autistic part of my personality is like, once I start a topic, it's really hard for me to drop it, especially if it excites me. And that like publisher versus self-publishing thing is something I've put a lot of thought into. And I think people should put thought into themselves. And all of that stuff I was saying, I just want to be really clear. That's for me, for everybody's got their own path. Some people might be happier as like lone wolves, like doing their own thing, and there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, here we go. Okay, so we have our thumbnail that we did last time. And let me get to the point in the script. I'll remind you guys it's down here. I don't know if you can read it, but I'm going to get to it, which is page 7. So we're going to go to page 7. And the nice thing is the author, my sister, broke this down into like nice, easy page by page breakdowns, which actually I'm thinking might be something I might do in future comic scripts. Like I haven't even been this nice to myself to like break down a page, like a page of script for a page of comics. Okay, so this is so basically we've been introduced to Elizabeth's brother. He dies at sea. We see him die at sea. Then we're introduced to 50 Wimple Street, and it's a rainy night, and we see a man outside holding a letter, right? And then we see the interior of 50 Wimple Street, and we're introduced to Elizabeth. And there's a poem. Her eyes are closed. When the poem finishes, her eyes open. And now we're back at the exterior of 50 Wimple Street. So that catches us up to where we are. The reason I'm running through that is so I am mentally also reminding myself of where we are in the story, because these are sequential stories. You don't want to forget what was on the last page. Okay. So now I'm going to think about like kind of flipping this. Yeah, the whole indie thing. Okay, so we're gonna put this in the corner. I gotta drop the subject for a little bit. Well, at least we're roughing out. Maybe once we're drawing a little bit. So okay, this first shot, I know it's tiny, but it's gonna be an overhead shot. Um, Not like super high. It's like a mid shot that's showing kind of like almost like a security camera angle of 50 Wimple. I also found out that Wilson is who's the maid character, we have no reference for, which is kind of exciting. So that means I'll be able to kind of invent how Wilson looks. Although that might mean that we have to kind of do some research and kind of find what that looks like. This is just my little rough corner that I've been using on each page. In this case, I'm just going to go ahead and bypass the need to kind of redraw them every time. And you'll also notice that the bleed on this page is all on the what is wrong with my brain? Actually, this page is looking a little off. Let me double check. So this is page 7. Let's go back to page 5. Let's see what page 5 says. Page 5. What's wrong with the why is this like 10 times as wide? That's so interesting. Something weird happened with the paneling here. I'm not sure what. With my guides? Oh, man. Well, that's weird. I wonder how those guides got moved over. Maybe it was when I moved this? No? Just kind of curious what shifted those guides over. All right, well, we're going to have to kind of recreate our rough page template. I'm glad I caught that early. I know that's like kind of boring stuff, but it's like details like that that'll really hammer you and ruin your workflow later on if you don't have it set. So what I'm going to do here is actually pick another odd page. This is page 5. I just kind of made copies of it. And then I labeled it as like page 7. And then what we're going to do is now we have the correct page. The little blue guides that you see, those should be like bleeds. And somehow all of these got thrown off. I'm not sure when. Maybe it was when I got all excited about talking about the benefit of publishers. So here we go. Okay, easy fix. Easy peasy fix. So, okay, we have our page again all set, and that looks a little more correct on the page bleeds and stuff. So, from what I'm gathering, and I should be right here, we had our first page of art, which I think was page 4. No, it was page 3 was our first. So in a book like page 3, my goodness. Let me double check here. So the way this would work, this is an unusual book, right? But it's like you have page 1, page 2, which would usually have like legal stuff, and then page 3. That's where it's going to start on the recto side, the right side. So the bleed technically should be on the right. So this is correct. Okay. I'm double checking that in my head. I know I get a little paranoid about that, but it's like if you do your layout wrong, your book can be like, well, I mean, I don't know. How many of you guys have done like when it goes to print, you're like, oh, I didn't have bleed or something like that. Or you're like, oh, I didn't follow the safe areas. My wife who does kids books was just like saying like, yes, amen. Like it's a pain a lot of us have experienced. And the last thing you want when you're dealing with a publisher you want to impress is for them to have to experience that pain. And then they're like, oh my gosh, I'm dealing with somebody who doesn't know how to do page setup, right? That's the last thing I want. I want to make, I've talked about this before, but it's like, my thought is, once you get a publisher, you want to retain those relationships because the whole industry is relationships. And comics are a small world, so publishers talk to publishers. Um, you know, so like you want to be easy to work with. You want to be like a real, even on your own projects, right? You want them to like, let's say I'm a pain in the butt, and then suddenly I need somebody to put out another book. Well, if I burnt my bridge with that publisher, that's kind of crappy, right? Like that could have been a bridge built, and if I'm burning bridges everywhere I go, then it's not going to make for like long-term relationships. Nor will it make for a publisher that wants to promote your work, right? Like for instance, if your job is so painful to do, by the time it gets to publication and they have to put in the work to promote your book, they might just be like, you know what, screw this book, we'll just take it as a loss. Like I'm just throwing it out there. I don't think that would be the case, but still, that's how my brain works. I'm like, you want to make people's, it's just not bad advice. Like when you're working with people, try to make their day a little easier, try to make their job a little easier. Keith in the chat said, I learned about bleeds and page turns the hard way. Yeah, so did I. Philip said, I haven't the foggiest idea on how to go through a publisher. Yeah, I mean, it's not hard to find like info on it. You can just Google how to get a publisher. I would probably, again, like my advice would be Google literary agents and start looking up literary agencies. And then when you're considering a literary agent, talk to the people represented by that agent before you approach the literary agent. Like, reach out to Bob or whatever who's represented by generic literary agency LLC or something. And you're like, hey, Bob, what do you think about generic literary agency LLC? And if Bob is like not happy with the representation, they might just be like, dude, do not, artists and writers that aren't happy with their representation will usually be very quick to tell somebody behind the scenes whether they're happy or not with their representatives. And then I will say the only downside of trying for a literary agent is it's hard. It's hard to find one. Once you get one, cling to it. I'm very thankful for my literary agent, but it was a long road to get there. Philip was saying thanks. I'll definitely look into that. And you don't waste literary agents' time either. Like, be really confident in what you did. If you're not confident in it, like, you shouldn't expect a literary agent to want to like risk their reputation on it, right? So, but I mean, as long as you put in the legwork and made something good, I highly recommend it. They can kind of get past a lot of the gatekeeping that happens in the industry and stuff like that. Okay. Now there's disadvantages with publishers, right? Like the advantage of self-publishing is like tomorrow I could finish my book and in theory kickstart it, and then like a week I could have it like done and printed, right? With publishers, it's a whole different game. Like even this book, this book is due like almost a year before release. That's just kind of how it works. Like they need that much lead time to kind of put it, partially due to the distributors and the libraries and all of that stuff. Okay. So now we've got our rough. Okay, so this is going to be broken into a pretty standard grid. So we have like a pretty much a, let's see. It's 7, but it goes in by a half or by a quarter. So we're going to do a 0.125. So 3.5 and 0.12, boom, right there is going to be our middle. So I'm going to find my middle, 3.5, and then 3.125. Don't stop snapping to point thing. Man, that's obnoxious. Okay, let's try this again. 3.5. There we go. That's my middle line. Then we have, I'm so bad at math. That's the problem here. Is like kind of dividing a grid. There we go. Okay, now we have our areas. Oh, wait a second. Except I was doing this by thirds. See, this is where I'm bad at math, you guys. So, okay, I'm going to do a cheat instead. Because right now what I'm doing is just, I'm going to do some real quick borders. Since this is rough, so I don't think it really matters. But I do want to do real quick borders. What is going on here? Okay. Philip was saying, for my first, I'll go the self-publishing route. Yeah, I think self-publishing is really healthy, especially at first, because, well, it depends. But I think it's pretty healthy because like it teaches you so much about book printing, because if you self-publish, you have to go through a printer and deal with bleeds and setups and stuff like that, and kind of deal with some of the print nightmares. You have to go through a little bit of the distribution and all of that. So it like, I think it's really good for like, it's almost like a proving ground to see if you're ready for a publisher. And also, honestly, you might have wild success with it, and then in that case, maybe it's more lucrative to self-publish. Like, I can't remember. I'm pretty sure Dave Sims self-published Cerebrus for like 30 years or something. I can't remember the specific amount of time, but I mean, what the heck? Why not? Okay. I also think just like getting your workouts a really good practice. And I mean, it doesn't hurt to build up the like don't take no for an answer kind of thing. Like you kind of you're gonna hear no a lot in industry, and um, at least in my experience, it's like I don't know, like for the little I know, um, it's been beneficial to me to be kind of stubborn, and not take no for an answer, and kind of like try every door, just to like just to see like, hey, can I get in this way? And again, if I found all the doors of publishing shut, then I would totally self-publish. Why am I still rambling about self-publishing? So right now what I'm doing is let's see, I'm gonna basically make my guides. Like luckily this is a 9-panel grid. Um my layouts are not gonna always be this easy. And when I'm doing roughs too, it's like the layouts can totally change, It's like quick and sloppy is really the point. But again, these aren't thumbnails now, so it's a little tighter than roughs. Like this is what I basically when I'm working with a publisher, this is the stuff I'm going to show them to be like, "Hey, this is what it's going to look like," right? This is like kind of the final chance for them to say, "No, like let's change this to this or whatever." Um Well, it's not the final chance, but ideally, when you got a good publisher, they're going to give a lot of feedback in the rough stage. And the whole intention for that, for those of you who illustrate, you're probably familiar with this, but the whole point of roughs is like to save money and time. um, it helps people better understand what what your thoughts are. Um, Whereas a thumbnail is more like a map for you, not so much for your client. The thumbnail is more for you, to like kind of know a rough idea of what you're going to do so you don't waste too much time on roughs. um, and then both the thumbnail and the rough like can act as a real quick arbiter of, I don't know what arbiter meant there, like a quick like way of like roughing out an idea and stuff. Oh, okay. So while we're working on making these little panel borders, you guys, um, I do kind of want to rant a little bit on the self-publishing versus publishing thing. Well, just while we're cleaning up these little corners, because it's repetitive work and I can talk and think at the same time here on this. Um, there are some people who like go one way or the other, like I think in really extreme and frankly like stupid ways. You have like kind of people on one side that are like way too pro publishing and they get all kind of snarky about it, like, "Ooh, I've got a publisher. Non self-published stuff is so stupid." That's dumb, like at the end of the day, like I've met enough people who've been published by like huge publishers who like are all about and interested and love self-published work. And their publishers like self-published stuff. So there's that. I think that's dumb. If you think that self-publishing is stupid, then I don't know. I think maybe there's something wrong with you. Um or maybe you're just like, young, and like when I was young I used to make like really really like black and white statements, I'd be like, "This band sucks," like that kind of stuff. Whereas as I get older, I kind of end up more in a territory of like, yeah, that band's not really my taste. And also I like some really stupid bands. So who am I to judge? Um, okay. So along that note, the other angle that I see people go is like the mainstream publishers are stupid. They're just going to destroy your work. Like, you know, um, you shouldn't sell out, man. Like, I don't know. It's almost like the punks that I knew in high school who'd like judge like a band that got like a label. Um and like would like confuse selling out with selling, and I think there's a difference. So anyhow, so I just encourage everybody to not be one or the other. Just kind of like realize like they're both pretty valid. Um, Even if you're all about self-publishing, the likelihood that you grew up reading like Curious George, which was like published by a mainstream publisher, or like Sendak, or like one of the classic like kids books, like how did those end up in your hands? A lot of those weren't just picked up by like some mom and pop place. Like those were picked up by like a giant distributor. They're books that were promoted like by a big publisher. So even your interest in books is probably based on stuff that was published by publishers. Um, But anyhow, I think going to either extreme is ridiculous. I do think like kickstarting and crowdfunding is probably like a really good route to go. I think publishing is a really good route to go. I think it's just a matter of what you want, what your aims are. And that could switch too. It could switch really quick. It might actually, we might end up in a world where like publishers in general just go kaput. Okay. Did I just say kaput like in a like Canadian accent, you guys? Man. But you know what I mean? I think either take would be kinda naive because it's like, yeah, I mean, I don't know, I have plenty of friends who've, like, been published by publishers and had very successful careers and enjoy their publishers, and I have a lot of friends who've had, like, really successful careers, like, launching their own stuff, starting their own, like, design firms and stuff. It's just like, I don't know. Like, I hate to sound all kind of milquetoast, but it's like, man, extremes are just kind of stupid. like, like going to extremes on stuff sometimes when there's nuance to something is kind of like, I don't know, just betrays like, I don't know, portrays some kind of silly stuff. I don't know. Now I'm curious what the chats think. What do you guys think about like publishers and all that stuff? Okay, so we've got I'm looking for, I thought I had, this is going to bug the heck out of me. I thought I had found an image. Maybe it didn't carry over when we had our little fixing the corner thing. Ah, there it is. Okay. That's what I want to see. I want to see these two things as I kind of work out the door frame. And we're almost at the hour mark. But I have a feeling these roughs are not going to take that long. So you guys can make fun of me when it's like 5 hours later and these roughs have taken like half the day. I think that's going to be an ongoing bit on this stream. It'll be like 3 in the morning. Josh, remember when you said this will take 2 seconds? Gary said, I'm about the same as you. I do think there's value in so-called gatekeeping, and working with a formal publisher has a lot of benefits and cachet, but self-publishing is fine too. Exactly what Gary said. I think what Gary's doing with Dinosaurs versus Mars Bots is rad. I think if Gary were to like collect it and self-publish it, once he has like 10 of the stories or 5 of the stories or whatever, they're really long too. That would be cool. I think if he were to get it with a publisher, that would be cool too. I don't know. I think it'd be weird to take a stance that's kind of like, I don't know. I mean, I kind of get it, you know. I also listened to Crass when I was in high school and thought like, the fact that they had an anarchist commune and like published their own stuff and like that was really cool. like, and it kind of worked for Crass. I think for what Crass was intending, it would have been slightly selling out for them. With what they preached, I think it would have been selling out for them to get a record label. Like, I don't know. because I mean, their whole thing was, I don't know. So I guess if I were an anarchist, uh, who believed in like anarchistic communes, and I was making comics, but they were published by like sold on Amazon, I would think there might be a problem with that. You know what I mean? That's an area where where I might be like, yeah, maybe you shouldn't like, you know what I mean? Maybe you shouldn't like be, being supported by Jeff Bezos, like just, cuz the anarchist thing. Like depending, like if you're, I guess an ANCAP, then sure, like sell through Amazon. And then just don't like unionize any of your workers or something. I don't know. I'm just rambling, but my point is like, I think there's some scenarios where like it would be selling out to, be with a label. A good example, Fugazi. One of the reasons I love Ian McKay is he was always very like critical of the record industry, and he thought it was kind of unethical. And he also like had this real big problem with overcharging for shows. And so when he was in Fugazi, like he literally, I mean, Discord Records to this day is the label that, which is his own record label, is the label that put out Fugazi. And he literally had $1 million offers just shoveled at him, especially in the 90s and early 2000s. And it was just like he turned them all down. I admire the hell out of him for that. But and I think a lot of people really admire Ian MacKaye for having that kind of stance. But I'm not Ian MacKaye, like when it comes to book sales. Like I don't look at like book publishers and think they have like, I mean, yeah, there's ethical issues with some publishers and stuff like that. But in general, like I'm pretty happy with books. I think book publishers are pretty cool. I think there's some that might have problems, but I don't know if that makes sense. So like for me to be with a publisher, I don't think would make sense unless I were like, I don't know, doing like crazy. I'm just like, screw publishers, man, like, and then I get a publisher. I'd say like, then like maybe you're in a territory where, yeah, you should probably self-publish, I remember early on, we're drawing the building right now. And basically what I'm doing is, this is the old front and this is the new, and we're just kind of combining the two. One of my favorite comics in high school was this comic called Too Much Coffee Man. And then when I was like midway through high school, like Shannon Wheeler started doing a magazine called like Too Much Coffee Man magazine, and it was really cool too. And it was very independent and like self-published and awesome and hilarious. And I think I got that. And then there was another comic at the time called Milk and Cheese. I think was by like Evan Dorkin. I love those books and the fact that they were independent and stuff. But like, anyhow, I think Shannon Wheeler is actually a pretty good guy to look at for like just career stuff. Like he's had a really interesting career. And it can be inspiring, to like kind of look at how he built his career and stuff. But like eventually, he was doing stuff for like Dark Horse, and then now he does stuff for like the New Yorker. It's like I don't think that's wrong or stupid. I think that's just kind of the move a lot of these guys make, a lot of the self-publishing dudes. Probably partially because like, dude, warehousing and distribution and stuff on top of making a comic is a headache, And if you want to do that, then maybe whatever. I'm going to stop rambling. I'm going to stop ranting about the publishing versus, but okay. So this is going to be a rough, again, I got to remember these are roughs too. It doesn't have to be perfect. Does not have to have perfection here. I'm looking at my front door to see what side that opens on. Yep. Okay, that's correct. Okay. So we're just doing a rough of the front of the door. It's going to have this checkerboard pattern. Speaking of like indie stuff, this door is like a two-tone record door, you guys. It it's almost 11, you guys, and I did work a full shift, so I'm forgiven, I think, for making bad jokes. But I was gonna say, if you ring the doorbell, it goes chicka. It's like chicka chicka chicka, like every time. That's what happens. Maybe every other time it's like hut hut. I'm here all night, guys. I'm here all night. I'm actually gonna look now at like the viewers and see if it just shot down by like half. No, you guys are still with me. I appreciate that. I really thought that might have been the one to clear the room. All right, so we got our doorway. I think I want it to be a little more extreme of an angle, and I want it a little more extreme here. So I'm doing that like free transform business. And then we're going to be repeating this door. And the nice thing is these are thumbnails. So yeah, that's going to be pretty rad. So, okay, here we go. We've got like, this is going to be a staircase kind of thing. And this is going to have like, some nice like railings and stuff, because as you guys can recall, there's like a crazy thing here. Okay. So now I'm just going to throw some tone over here, sort of establish like the lighting. I'm trying to think, like I kind of want the light to be a little bit more this direction. We're just doing a real quick comp here, guys. And by the way, I don't mean guys to like gender anybody or anything out there. I'm Californian, so we just say guys to everyone. Everyone's guys. You guys. If I were Texan, I'd be like y'all. Is there an Arizonan version of that, Gary? Like the common parlance for groups of people? Okay. Merge down. Okay. So we got one panel roughed, one down. We've got what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 left. That was my. Oh, Gary said it's guys or y'all. Interesting. So Arizona has like a crossover because they probably have a lot of Texan and Californian influence. Okay, so, or maybe we have Arizonan influence. I have no idea. Oh, yeah. Scott, who's joining us in the chat, said the Arizonan version is guy too. I never say y'all. Yeah, I lived in Texas, and when I was in kindergarten, when I moved back up here, it was like first grade, and I was in preschool and kindergarten in Texas. I remember in first grade, it's one of my earliest memories of being a nerd. I think I called some people in class y'all, and they looked at me and laughed so hard because it's, Californian and kids who have no filter. So I quickly assimilated. I didn't keep the y'all. And I hadn't been in Texas long enough to for it to be like a stuck pattern. Okay. You guys, in honor of getting the actual physical real copy of this beautiful book in the mail, while I do my break, we're going to watch the trailer for Jacob's Apartment, which is coming out June 7th. The trailer says May. It's June 7th. So here is the trailer. Y'all enjoy. Oh no, the trailer's taking too long. It would have been funnier if the trailer had kicked in right there, but now let's just have an uncomfortable moment of silence. And trailer. Speak clearly, it seems that only in dreams can we be these things we've seen and walk around breathing I don't know the part to play in this heart of mine. There's dissonant things, they split at the seams. All right, the trailer was a lovely little break, and I'm starting to learn the trailer time, so I'll be back at my seat. The first two times I played those, I think they'd end, and then it would just be an empty chair for a little bit. But to do these streams, I've found that it's usually like it's like if I don't break every hour, it's like really bad for my back. I think when I was younger, I could do like just a straight sitting. But nowadays that I'm an older man, that takes a little out of me to sit at a desk for a long period of time. So just to get up, like stretch, vape, and then like have my coffee or whatever, which I wouldn't recommend to anybody vape, but it's better than smoking. For me at least. That's kind of my little routine every hour. Philip asked, did you write the song? Yes. I actually, that got put to the side a little bit here as well. Ooh, my thumbnail had an error. Oh no, it didn't. Never mind. Door would open inward. My goodness. Past me is like yelling at art director me. No, that had intention, dude. Then I'm like thinking I got it wrong, but I didn't. Okay. Check this out. We're just doing roughs here, guys. So it's all cut and paste and sloppy and fun. That's what we do here. I'm opening that door, but I'm going to crack it open, right? Okay. And then we're going to basically do this. But yeah, so Philip, I had a goal to try to make an album every year, and I have about 7 tracked out for the second one. The first one is actually on Spotify. If you're ever bored and you like kind of weird folk stuff, um, I also am in like a more kind of like post-hardcore band, and we have an album that's been being mixed for like over 2 years now, and I need to really bug the band about kind of putting that out. But anyhow, yeah, if you look for Joshua Kemble, The Bottle of Better Than, that's the first album that I did. And then the second one, I'm 7 songs in, and I'm not going to allow myself to put it out till I'm at 10 songs. So from the looks of it, maybe I'll find time to like play a little music here or there, but probably not for another year. But that track was on like one of the new ones, which is kind of nice. Well, I'm not saying the music's nice. That's kind of up to you. But the just the ability to kind of use your own music is nice for royalty reasons too. But also, I had tracked that song, and then I was like, this kind of like I was thinking about like what song have I written a song that kind of has the vibe and feel of Jacob's Apartment, and to me that one did. But you know, I also run the risk that people will think that my comics are as bad as my music, which is not the case. Okay, so let's find. And by the way, self-deprecation is usually not super charming, but when it comes to my music, I'm not going to make like I don't think I'm terrible, but I definitely don't think. I think with my illustrations and designs and art, I'm a lot further along than a lot of that, a lot of my musical stuff. But music's a passion, and I definitely put a lot of love into it. Philip said, "Yeah, I'll check it out." Yeah, you can check it out Spotify for free if you dig it. You can buy the album on Apple Music or just listen to it on rotation in Spotify. And if you hate it, it's like, hey, you just, it's a couple minutes on Spotify. All right. I thought I had maids. Man, I didn't really do my research here. I thought I had maids, and I'm a little nervous about Googling Victorian maids. Okay, I'm going to have to search that one off stream because I'm kind of worried that the result is going to be something that gets me demonetized immediately. I mean, just use your imagination and guess what would happen if you Google search Victorian maids. I've had like trouble just looking up Victorian anything because like one of the first results is always like Victoria's Secret or something. And I'm like, I'm not looking for bras. I'm looking for Victorian living rooms. Like, I'm not looking for a Victoria's Secret model in a living room, please. Anyhow, says one of the funniest things about working in a creative department that's in an office with an HR and stuff like that is that kind of stuff where like the IT always has to give the art department a bit of a pass because the internet's evil. You could be looking up like a reference of like a canyon and then get like crazy results. And you're like, I just wanted a canyon. I really like the look of this maid. I kind of like that because the other maids should be more of. Let me see if I can find. I think the other. Okay, here's the other maids. Like if there are other maids in the house, I want them to be like this, where it's like almost like more uniform. But I think that this maid's gonna have that like that special maid hat, and that'll be what like kind of specifies that she's like she's Elizabeth's personal maid. Cool. Okay, that's gonna give us a rough idea of what the person's gonna look like. Okay, I'm gonna label this layer as Elizabeth's maid. Okay, we're just gonna move that right here, and we're gonna sketch out. In my thumbnail, she's just kind of peeking around the corner, so have her just kind of here. Again, this is just a rough. Do like that big frilly hat. And in this, she's going to be kind of like peeking her head out. So her body's going to be like facing that direction. It's the maid bonnet thing. What's great about this too is this helps you later when like, you know, there's all sorts of beautiful reasons to do roughs, but like for me the most advantageous is like you just have a better rough understanding of where you're going to go in the final. I think I want the hands up here. So we're actually going to have our door end here. So I'll reduce down the size once I'm done. And then she's going to be peeking out from behind the door, but she's going to need a supporting leg. So I'm thinking her other leg's going to be back here. And I'm guessing she's not going to be wearing like stilettos. I don't even think those exist at this time. But also, this is going to be black. And this is going to be black. And then we're going to kind of squeeze it in so that it kind of fits a little better. My goodness, I'm peeking through the doorway, but I'm also not super tiny. And I can overlap the outside of the door too. Maybe the door is too far in. You know what? I kind of like that. Okay, so then we're going to erase this here. So her head and body are kind of peeking out. And then we're going to go back to our maid and erase this. Oh, wait. Let's erase this behind. Where's our maid? Okay. Our maid layer. Our maiden layer. That sounds like a really rad metal band. Maiden Lair. Welcome to Maiden Lair. Yeah. All right. What do you guys think? Would you listen to Maiden Lair? That's what I should have that would have been the best answer. Philip, I undo my answer before about that being my band. The music, the soundtrack was Maiden Lair. It's my metal band. We write songs about Victorian torch devices. How about that? No.
Laudanum addiction is a serious issue, man.
Laudanum addiction is what we write all our songs about. Addiction in the maiden lair. All right. Anyhow, I'm here all night, guys. Just gonna be making terrible jokes all night. And by the way, there's going to be rain overlaid over every single one of these. But okay, so there she is popping in. And let's double check. The door to number 50 opens slightly. I'm going to highlight that line. As Elizabeth's personal maid, Wilson, 29, nervous and bird-like, pops her head out. Okay. This kind of described that action, but we're also going to do the she spots Robert. And that's going to be 2 panels, which I think will work really exceptionally. Maiden Lair or Maiden's Lair would be a good Iron Maiden cover band. I don't know. Are you with me, Scott? Are you still there? If so, let me know. Do you want to create an Iron Maiden cover band called Maiden's Lair whenever I give up California and move to Arizona? I have so many friends in Arizona. It's tempting. I gotta say. The heat, though, I like living in the Antelope Valley. I feel like I deal with enough heat. I don't know if I could hang. Scott said, I'll get right on that. Awesome. All right. Maybe if we do a Little Mermaid cover stream, I've been meaning to ask Scott about that. Like, if we should do that as a super chat goal on Artcasters proper, where like if we reach a certain level of super chats on Artcasters, like we'll have to do the Little Mermaid soundtrack. All right. Now I'm getting distracted with silliness. The problem with my brain sometimes, you guys, is I get super distracted by goofy thoughts. Okay. This one is going to be her, but she's actually going to be looking out. And I don't want to keep the image too close because I don't want to be too photocopy-ish with it, right? Because again, we're just doing like a rough. Okay. So we're just going to have like. I kind of think a little bit of that, and then the body like that. Okay. I actually think I lucked out because I think this lady might end up being kind of the model of the person. So they do look a little bird-like. Hands will be here. So Gary, I don't know if you're still listening to the stream, but dude, I've been playing the Wet Leg album. There's a band Gary and I are both really obsessed with called Wet Leg. And they just released their first album, and it's been on like heavy rotation last week. But the problem is I've also been drawing a Chase Lounge, and so it's like the cycle of just forever getting these songs stuck in my head. I like this crazy hat. I think this is going to be a lot of fun to draw. The problem with crazy Victorian hats is it's like kind of hard to place like what is the form of this hat, you know? So I think I got to darken where the hair is so it doesn't get confused with the hat. And then we're going to have our head, very high thing here. I got to think like My Fair Lady or something with the necklines, because they have these like things, but just because it's here doesn't mean the shoulder comes up here, because that's like a more modern thing. The shoulder's low. They just accentuated the neck with their stuff. Circworks said, Scott said, is that album out now? I looked for it earlier. Yeah, it's out. Wet Leg, dude. Their full length is out. So just check it out. Like if you have Spotify, you can just look it up. It's pretty good. It's a short album. It's like 30 something minutes, but it's just so wonderful. You know what's funny? She looks a little bit like Amelia Bedelia. Do you guys remember those books? The Amelia Bedelia books? There were like, for anybody who doesn't, there were like these kids' books when I was in elementary school that were super popular from the library. That were like this maid named Amelia Bedelia. And she was like pretty much just somebody who took everything literally. So someone would say like, you're driving me bananas, and then she would like find the bananas in the house and like take them for a drive. And like, so her taking everything literally that's figurative would like get her in all kinds of trouble. And that was Amelia Bedelia. And that was a whole children's book series. I think there were like a bunch of those books. I should actually see if they still have those, because I think my son would think they're really funny. Like right now we were doing the Dogman books. He's been digging the hell out of those. I want this to have, I'll have to look more into this if I go to final on it, but I feel like there should be like a kind of Victorian filigree-ish thing going on there too. And just to give it a little context. All right, so there we go. We've got our and also I think just to kind of reestablish, I think that should be the door frame. And then this will be the checkerboard. Check it out, check it out, check it out. The ska two-tone thing. Sweet. I'm pretty happy with that. Doop-a-doop-a-doop. I'm actually feeling good about my roughs too. Like the first few streams I did, I just was like super tight. It had been a while since I had a rough. because I was so in the zone of like finalizing pages for 2 stories. So it had been months since I did like some legitimate roughs. And then at my work, we don't do a lot of roughs. We just kind of go to final on a lot of our designs. And so it was just weird to get back in the iteration of roughs. And like the looseness you need to have. Gary's with me on that. He's like, yeah, I've listened to that album probably like 50 times since it came out. Yeah, it's really good. It's really, it's just, I like it. I like it. It's very quirky and interesting. It's added to my rotation of like, for me, that and like Damn by Kendrick Lamar for some reason this year, even though that came out in 2018. Those are like my 2 most cycled albums. You know what I'm going to do with this thumbnail? Because we had this nice little list attached to the thumbnail, and I don't think that's useful anymore because that list was just like, what do we have to look up? You know? So I'm going to just get rid of that list for now. And now we just have, let's see, we got a good 6 panels left to thumbnail. You guys feeling it? Okay, this one's going to be Robert, who we drew before, but I still want to get that. I think I do have his costume. Okay, that's going to be useful. That shall be useful. That shall be useful. And what else? Where's the Robert? Must have carried that over at least. Where's my Robert costume? Oh, I forgot to mention, we actually found Edward. So there is this sketch. Her father, Edward Moulton Barrett, that's a profile shot of him. So that's good to know. And then I think that mixed with a little bit of this dude on the left, that I think that'll get us closer to like the actual dude. Where's my Browning outfit? I have Robert. Okay, and then Robert's costume. That's all I needed. Okay. Robert is wearing his top hat, holding a letter in the last panel we saw him in. So let's move these here. And then let's get into it. Oh, and then I did want that. The one other nice thing about like manually drawing stuff is like it does feel better if you like print out pictures, you have them to the side, and it's a lot more organic. What I need to do, this would be if I were a smart person, is do what I have at work and have 2 monitors. Because right now I'm literally doing everything off 1 monitor. I think if I had a second monitor, then I could like rotate between monitors, and that would be a lot easier for streaming too. But anyhow, we're going to do this. All right. So this is going to be, is this behind her and then it's Robert? Yes. Okay, perfect. So now we're going to do the exact reverse, but I'm keeping her on the left because she's on the left. She's on the left. If I keep her on the left, even if I flipped direction, that's okay. We're not like crossing the line. Line of action is like, a good rule of thumb is if you have a character on the left, you try to keep them on the left throughout a scene. The only way you should show them on the right is if you show somebody physically cross the line of action. So it's like left, right. Every shot, whether you're viewing it from here or here, they should be on the left, unless you actually show them cross the line. That's what people mean by line of action. Scott said, good night, everyone. Philip said, having a second monitor makes streaming a lot better. Thanks, Scott, for coming and hanging out for a little bit, bud. hope everything's going well, and I hope I'm eager to see the next Young and the Dead book, which it seems like we'll probably be seeing pretty soon. I'm kind of excited about that. All right, guys, now that Scott's gone, let's talk crap. No, I'm just kidding. I'm teasing. I like Scott. I will talk well about Scott behind and in front of him. I do not care whether he's in the room or not. I mean, I do care because his presence is awesome, but all right, let's see here. We're going to have, this is interesting. Now I have to imagine, what does that look like from the back? I'm guessing that hat's kind of like a little frilly bop kind of hat. And it's definitely got like a band to it because it had that like bright thing. It's definitely going to be like down a little bit because it kind of comes up at the top. And we're going to have, Landon said he went back to his underground lair for sure. By the way, I really doubt this because like Scott has way more subscribers than me. So I'm guessing, my assumption is most people subscribe to me or subscribe to Scott. But if you aren't, make sure you guys are subscribed to Scott Cirkland, Cirkworks, Art Labs. If you're not, you're really missing out on some good stuff. And then that being said, yeah, I think that'll do it. I don't want the nose showing because I actually want the idea that, okay. Trying to think of, okay. I probably should have roughed out the direction of the body here. But I do think I have plenty there. Yep. Yes, there we go. Very frilly outfit. I don't want that facing a different direction. I want almost like that. There we go. I think maids have like a bow back here usually. Oh, perfect. Okay. And then we got like these frilly sleeves. There we go. There we go. Perfect. I know I'm like talking to myself a little bit. I guess this is my stream though. It's that's kind of the catch, is I'm talking to myself and to you guys. Out of curiosity too, if there's any questions you guys are curious about, I can field them while I'm working here. I think that I like the idea of this being a little more angled, so it's matching the thumbnail, because I did like that with the thumbnail. It actually looks like originally when I was thumbnailing, I made that decision to kind of keep it off balance. So we're going to have like that. And then the background's going to have Robert in the rain. He's going to be kind of back here. Oh, let's have our, Okay, interesting. That'll be more of this. Okay. Now we're going to have our interior here, our door frame. And then we're going to have Robert across the street. So we had that like cobblestone stairs, cobblestone walkway. For now, we'll just do it as a grid. And then we're going to have probably like a street lamp or something. Because if we're going to be seeing Robert, it's going to be raining out, right? So if we're going to be seeing him, probably should be like a street lamp or something, an old Victorian street lamp. And then we're going to have Robert standing there. The hand we showed the letter in was his right hand. He's going to be here with like a top hat, and we're going to have him standing in the rain. He's got like one of those semi-long coats, but it's not a full trench. There we go. And then we're going to have sort of like really dimly lit suggestion that there's like an awning and maybe like some stuff and some very like shaded areas. Okay. Now we're going to get in there and just do a real quick rough of him. Nothing like super crazy. He's got like a neck beard for sure. Well, not a neck beard, but like a chin beard kind of thing going on. He's got a little bit of an Abraham Lincoln fashion, which is interesting because I'm going to have him wearing this top hat, you know? Oh, did I just delete it? That's not good. That reminds me, I should save. All right, so now he's wearing this outfit that I have down here. So that's going to have like this bow tie. Definitely like kind of this kind of thing going on. We're going to have like a coat. Again, these are just roughs, you know. This is just tight roughs, so not quite the final pencil stage, but we're just prepping for the final. And then we got like got our wonderful jacket here. Landon has a question, I believe. So let me see if I can get to it. I'll field it in like 2 seconds once I'm wondering, should Robert have a cane? You know what? I love the cane. I think a cane is just a rad thing, so I'm going to give him a freaking cane. I can't remember. Isn't there like so there was that YouTube video that talked about it was like Yoda basically doing a song about seagulls. But then there was a sequel that I think talked about my stick. Anyhow, so I think that's what Robert's going to be singing to himself while he's here. Singing about his rad walking stick. Okay. So there we go. And then we're going to have this a little bit more just so it's more obvious. I think that's way too close. Like, would a lamppost back then be, because there were like guys who walked around on stilts to light lampposts, partially so like somebody couldn't come by and like steal the oil, you know. Can you imagine if like lampposts were super? Okay, that's good. Now we're gonna do that. Gives us enough information. Now we're just gonna do a quick lighting thing. I want this to be real dim. Um, I want like most of the shadow to be on this side, almost like it's lit by that street lamp. So then we're gonna do very like tough stuff here, or that's gonna be all the way back, and then I really want this to almost like gradiate out. And so whatever, building or whatever ends up behind him will be like secondary to the, because it's going to be really small on the page. And we'll have some of that. And then I love the idea of then this just goes to solid black. And then this is just going to be like a very like mild, like it's just barely a suggestion. And she is going to be like lit by a little bit by above. Like I would think, because the interior lighting, it's going to be more like, and then maybe just a slight rim light from outside. And the doorway is going to be, this will be mostly black because it's, it's like the window part. So we'll have slight bit, definitely. And we're going to have, and then again, my last pass of this is going to be to add rain to everything, but I think that works and reads. So now we're 4 panels in. Pretty excited. I think we're gonna make pretty good progress on these roughs. And I know it seems like a lot of work, but it's like, to me, the roughs, if you spend time on your roughs, it's gonna cost a lot less cost later on. It's like a cost benefit analysis. Okay, guys, this one's gonna be the hardest rough we've ever done. Are you ready? Okay, here we go. Oh my gosh, that took forever, you guys. It took so long. I don't know if I can do comics anymore. Sorry. For anybody who didn't notice, I was just literally copying and pasting. And then this is just going to say click. This will probably be in like kind of that more Victorian, which I'll work out a little more on the final. That almost looks like it says glick. So obviously I'll avoid that overlap. There we go. That's that panel. How many panels do we have left, you guys? Also, as I'm doing thumbnails, I usually do merge visible. So there we go. Look how nice that's looking. What do you guys think? I think it looks pretty nice. Am I crazy, or did the... Now I'm wondering about the view. Okay, I see what happened here. I just realized I scaled this wrong. So I had my... So I'm going to fix that real quick. I had my guides going all the way to the bleed edge, which is not what we want. We want it going to the safe area, which is the interior line. I knew I was like blanking out and being kind of dumb about something. And that, my friends, was that, because If it's a right side of a page, then you're going to have bleed on the right. So that's actually more accurate. Okay. View extras. Another advantage of doing roughs. Oh, okay. Landon said, I know that storytelling is the most important to you and it's important in comics in general, but isn't quality art key to quality storytelling? A picture speaks 1,000 words, right? Thought. Um, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that, if you have crappy art, like, story's not going to be that great. The catch is if you have beautiful art, but like a stupid story, the art's not going to be that great. Like I think it's like a mix. Um, there's like an old thought on, oh man, that's a heavy topic, but I mean, for me as a visual artist, when I'm looking at visual art just for visual art, as long as there's a good concept, I don't really care how deep the story is. And it's kind of like anything, like in a movie, sometimes you want to see now I'm gonna blank out, but there's like that movie with Keanu Reeves where his dog is um is killed or something, and then he goes on like a killing spree. And John Wick. So I don't go see John Wick for like artsy storylines, but I really enjoy John Wick. Why? Because it's just pure spectacle, action, and fun. It's not meant to be anything else. I think there's a place for that. Um, and I think that's what like really good window dressing does. I think if you're making comics, you should be aiming for both. You should be aiming for really great art and really great stories. But I think if you're an artist, you should be trying to say something or do something with your art. If your art's just pretty pictures, I don't know, like to me, that's not that interesting. But if your art is like beautiful and it's saying something or doing something or telling a story that's good, then I can't help but like it. So I'll use an indie example. Um, so I really liked Craig Thompson's Blankets. I think it's brilliant. I think it's amazing. Habibi, I wasn't really into the story. Like I just couldn't get into the story. Like I really wanted to because it's a beautiful book. It's one of the most beautifully illustrated comics you'll ever see. It's like if you're ever at a bookstore, just flip through it. It's insane. Like the amount of beautiful cartooning in that book. I still own that book because the art is so impressive and heavy and brilliant, but I don't feel as attached to it as I do to Blankets because I feel like Blankets kind of hit that two prong where the story was amazing and the art was amazing. So I don't know if that makes sense, but I'll still own Habibi just to look at for like in awe of the craft of it. I mean, that's just one example, but one that comes to mind of like a book I own where I really like the art, but the story is like meh, you know. Although it's a noble effort, right? And it's probably better than anything I write. um, okay, so let's see here. But yeah, did that answer your question, Landon? I hope so. So my point is, yeah, I agree with you. I think the art is very important. For me as a visual thinker, the art might be more important than the written story. Okay, what was in this third? Okay, we need to reread the script. Okay, she spots Robert across the street. That's this panel, the fourth panel, and then disappears back inside, and that's the fifth panel. The sixth panel is the carriage pulls up to number 50. Got it. Okay. This is going to be interesting. So what we need to do is kind of pull this again. Oh. But I think in this case, it's going to be pulled back just even more so we can have a carriage in the foreground. But I don't want it to be a full carriage. Just to kind of keep it interesting. Okay. So we looked up a carriage a while ago on a previous stream. Landon said, yeah, good to hear your thoughts, man. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the thing I would think about, um, well, for me, like comics take so much time. Like, why invest so much time in drawing a story you don't think is good? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just saying for creator owned stuff, um, I think it's worth, like, in this case, it's a script I believe in 2 stories, I really made sure to write a story that was something I would, like, be really proud of, you know? I didn't just pick, like, a random premise and kinda just riff off it. I really put a lot of thought into it. Now I'm not saying that makes for, like, a perfect thing, but it, like, for me, like, it's totally better that way because I definitely feel like I feel like the years it took to do were worth it, whereas I feel like it probably would have taken the same amount of time, like years to do if I had written like a bad story, um, or a story that I just didn't feel because I wanted to get to the art. And then it's like, well, I mean, a year into that or like 5 years into that, like what do I have to show for it? Like a beautiful book that's just not that good of a story, you know? So like that's why I'm like, um, I think it's worthwhile if you're gonna make a comic, to like really invest in the story, like especially if it's your own creator-owned thing. Now that doesn't mean it has to be like some profound, brilliant, like life-changing thing, um, you know, because like, dude, I mean, there's plenty of like, I mean, like Axe Cop, I think is a really fun comic, and like it's not like the heaviest story, but it's so fun and so cool and just goofy, you know. But I also do think they put a little bit of thought and time into like considering even the goofiness of the story, you know. Um, okay, that was our cab. I think that's what we wanted it to be. We're gonna see kind of the top of that. Okay, so I have to like turn that around in my head for a second. Do, 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 do. Okay. So we're going to have like our. I already merged that down. Okay, I guess I did. I might have to shrink that down a little bit more. For now, like one thing I do if I like am drawing something over, I'll pick like a color. Quite often like a magenta or a cyan, just because it's like really obvious to kind of see over it. So I think here I want to have like a carriage. Oh, I should do it on a different layer probably. That would be a good thing. Okay, so I'm gonna have like a carriage, and I know it's gonna be like a box. I know that the person on the carriage is gonna be about this tall. So I'm gonna have my guy on my carriage. Okay. Here we're just gonna do like a real quick practice. Okay, this is gonna be the dude and him kind of sitting there. He's gonna be sitting on a seat of a carriage that's gonna be lower. Cause like if you look at this guy, he's like much higher than the carriage. He's gonna have a hat. This is just me working out like the blocking of it and how much I should show. It's probably going to go back about that much. It's going to have like a window. This seems like it's going to come up. Probably have like a little thing. That's going to be the harness. That's the horse butt. And that's kind of what we need. So, and then to scale it down just a little bit, so it's like obvious that it's a carriage, it's going to be about that big. Yeah. And I want the door to it to be right in front of the door, so we'll see. Man, there's like a freaking fly that got in the house that just smacked me in the face. That's a fun thing. All right. Oh, Look at that. We're at the 2-hour mark. We're almost through this page. I think probably another good hour, and we'll have these roughs done. But hey, we're making progress. I appreciate you guys who are hanging out in the chats, and I'll be right back. Oh, Landon said, yeah, the cane is good. Yeah, I think a cane is just kind of like rad. Okay, so we're gonna do brands, and I think last time I showed the Jacob's Apartment trailer. So this time I will show the trailer for my book, Two Stories, one of the trailers. And I'll be shortly back after this trailer with refilled coffee and a new vigor for life. All right, so we're drawing the top of a carriage. I had it roughly worked out here. Again, these are rough, so I might be spending a little more time than I need to on it, but that's okay. That's the name of the game of what I do here. So now I'm going to basically, we're going to do that carriage. We're going to rock that carriage. And then I had reference for it. I have to find it again. If I were more organized with my references, where is it? Cab. Okay. I'm going to kind of work this out with, I'll do cyan over the magenta to kind of work out the details. And then hopefully you guys can see the advantage of that. So this is a short brimmed hat. So that's going to be like there. And he's got it on. And he's going to be, I think he's going to be just like, with like a taller thing. And then he's going to have his arms back and hands on the reins. Similarly here, arms back, hands on the reins. I like the idea that the hands being separated, whereas on the other one, they're kind of together. Oh, that actually makes a lot of sense. Never mind. He's going to have one hand holding both the reins, and then he's going to have like a riding stirrup. I actually like that detail. So this is like a rich guy's cabbie, so they're probably very abusive to their animals. Okay. Broader shoulders, sitting this way. Just out of curiosity, do you only work in Photoshop or do you ever use something else like Clip Studio? I've never used Clip Studio. I have a lot of friends who do. I've had friends try to kind of turn me on to Clip Studio, and I can see the advantage, but for this book, I'm going to do the whole thing in Photoshop. On my other books, like Jacob's Apartment was all hand done, like hand inked and then colored and lettered digitally. And then for Two Stories, the entire thing is hand inked and hand lettered, and all traditionally done. So, but I mean, I can work in a lot, like for my day job, most of what I do, like almost everything I do, is in Adobe Illustrator. So it really, the program can like change. I could imagine Clip Studio would be cool. I feel like programs kind of change; they come and go, and I think the overall like skill, um, kind of acquired in each like is sort of what translates over. But anyhow, that's a long-winded answer to no, I haven't used Clip Studio yet. Yes, I have heard praises sung of it. Would you recommend Clip Studio? I keep hearing great things. Jim Luhan really likes it. And Scott Cirkland also, I think, uses Clip Studio a lot. So yeah, I'm not opposed to it. I just, I'm way more familiar with Photoshop. Okay, so we have our guy here. I've heard what was it about Clip Studio? I think Clip Studio was the one that I heard has like really amazing perspective tools. And I'm guessing that would be really advantageous. But yeah, for me, I'm kind of like it's probably because I use it for work and I've used it for so long like that. Um, and also, we did a whole episode actually with Gary Hodges on Artcasters where we were kind of talking about like whether it was worthwhile for artists to do make the investment to do things in oh my goodness, am I misreading this? That's interesting. Okay. Interesting. Okay. This is going to be more like here. Um, so making the investment to do that would be good. This I'm definitely going to rough out and obviously on the final get a little more detailed on, but for now we're just going to kind of block it in. Um yeah, but we did a whole episode on whether the Creative Cloud was like a worthwhile investment and stuff. And it was, I think, a pretty good one, but I also like not like married to I don't think the program makes the artist at all. I do think like we need to be pretty open to kind of learning new mediums and stuff. And I think if I were to get like an iPad Pro, I might kind of mess with like learning a new thing. But unfortunately, because of this, like this is a book that has to be done like every day. I need to be making really significant progress on this. I just don't have the time to learn a new program while working on it. Yeah, Philip was saying it does have a really just curious. Clip Studio really grew on me. I use it the majority of the time now. I keep Photoshop now because I still have more flexibility with text. And then Philip said, yes, Clip Studio does have a really incredible perspective tool. Clip also is a one-time fee for the desktop, pretty cheap. Cool. Maybe I'll invest in that. Maybe that's what I'll do. I have this book to finish, and then I have two stories, which is all traditional to finish, and like is all roughed out and stuff. So this process that you see here, it's like I've done 136 of these for two stories, book two. So I have it all mapped out, ready to finalize. Um, but I just have to wait, which is unfortunate. Okay, I do like this guy. I think I need to move him a little bit. This is why roughs are great too. Um, you can kind of figure out through roughs like where you're gonna go. I think actually that works. Okay, that's gonna be the placement of my dude. Um, and then we're gonna go here and see if that's enough of a comp here to kind of work. And I think it is. So now I'm going to do merge this. Let's see what else. Okay, merge this down, merge down. Okay. Okay, you guys, we're making really good progress here. Oh my goodness. I think we're done with that cab, so that's good. I think Edward Moulton Barrett, a fat, grumpy looking old man, emerges from the house and steps into the waiting cab. What was this going to be? What was this going to be? Oh, am I forgetting? I'm forgetting a really important thing here. Okay. Now I see what's going on. Okay, so we need to pull our Moulton Barrett references here. Oh, we aren't done with that panel. And I need to find another. I had like another older guy who kind of looked a bit Moulton Barrett-ish that I'm going to use as like an example. Okay, so then we're going to do. I'm going to have this door kind of open entirely because he's not going to. This isn't a guy who's going to like open the door mildly. I'm going to have him wearing kind of similar outfit to that guy. So, will he be bald? I think so. Fat, grumpy, old looking man. Okay. Fat, grumpy looking man. You guys ready to sketch that out? Because I forgot to add him in the doorway. Okay. This is going to be. So we're going to have this fat, grumpy looking man. I want him to kind of be angry. He's balding. He's going to have like kind of strange hair on the sides. Okay. And again, I'm drawing him way too big, but that's okay. We can kind of fix that in a second. Okay, this is going to be him. He's lurched over. He's going to be almost like hailing a cab type thing. Ah, yes. That's what this guy is going to be saying. Ah, yes, my cab has arrived. And then maybe he'll have. I don't want him to have a cane, but I want him to have like a hunch to him as he's arriving. Let's see. If his right arm is back, his left foot is going to be forward, which is going to be a pleated pant. So we're going to have that foot up there. Okay. And then this will be foot back here. Got it. Okay. That's our Moulton Barrett. He is going to be much tinier. And over here, and I kind of like the idea of a little bit smaller. Don't want him to be a giant. He's hunched too, so maybe even smaller. Okay. Now we're going to have that. I can't believe I forgot to draw him. He's kind of an important part of that scene. I even had it in the thumbnails, and when I got into the process, I just completely forgot to include him. So I'm going to have this. Oh, wait. I like my cheat with the door last time, so we're gonna pull it again. Where we're gonna do our little. Oh wait, let's actually cut, paste. And then we're gonna do our little cheat with the door. And I want the door to be like way back. Okay. So then we're gonna do, and I want the maid kind of back here. It's just gonna be like her face, with a little bit of her. So she's just back here, like. And then we're gonna have like maybe like the indication of like the crazy stairwell that would be back here. And then the entryway. Okay, cool, perfect. I hope this is kind of making sense to you guys. Nothing like crazy complicated or whatever. We're just kind of working out the panel. But again, that's the advantage of roughs, right? Like if I were doing final and I had to add a guy in there, just be like a nightmare, you know? Whereas like doing finals, it's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. I have to add that guy in there. Okay, now we've got it. Okay, now we're gonna check with the script again. Okay, we got our Molten Barrett. It's a lot more exciting to have this dude coming out of the door, merge down. Oh, I should have him down there too, merge down. Cool. So now we're going to have Robert remains huddled across the street watching. Is that what's going on? Oh my gosh, I just realized you guys aren't seeing what I'm doing. I need to let me update this. I usually have, I just realized I had 2 copies of it. Okay, so down there, the part that's a highlight. Oh, Gary said that'll do it for me for the night. Have a good night, Gary. Thanks for hanging out. And he said good night. Yeah, I get the time factor. It takes time to learn a new program. Yeah, Philip, I think it would be fun once I'm done with this and Two Stories Book 2. Because that perspective tool does sound really cool. Speaking of perspective, you guys should tune into Artcasters. We're having, I believe, David Chelsea on to do a perspective demo for everybody, which I think will be really cool. Now I got to figure out what I was thinking here. What was I thumbnailing there? I'm trying to think what I was thinking there with that thumbnail. It made perfect sense to me before. Did I have it on my list? Okay. Interesting. I literally can't decipher my own thumbnail there. I know I have like a guy. Oh, okay. I have him entering the cab. That's what it is. Okay. So we're still doing the steps into the waiting cab. So that's the part we're going to do here. Okay. Okay, I think we can do this. Oh. Let's go to this cab. Okay, I see what we're doing. So I think for this thumbnail, what I was thinking was, oh my goodness, hold on. No. Okay, we're going to save. I think what I was thinking was this is going to be like, almost like a direct shot where you're going to have the cab kind of like that with an opening. Oh, wait. I like that. Okay. Cab. He's getting on it. Like, I'm so mad. He's getting on the cab. This is him stepping onto the cab. And this will be the interior. That's going to be the little thing underneath. This will be the cab guy. There's like a kind of thing here. There's a thing here. And then there's going to be like the cab guy sitting. The wheel. Okay. That was kind of what that is. That's all that is. And then I think that it might be cool. Oh man. If we can get away with it, it might be kind of cool to have Robert kind of here. That's what we're going to do. That's a really weird rough, but that's okay. Oh, Philip said, that reminds me, sorry to jump off topic. I'll actually be starting a live stream art chat similar to Artcasters. Finally talked my friend into starting with me. Good job, Philip. That's awesome. What friend are you doing with? I'm sure it would be really cool. Let's see here. And will that be on your YouTube? And he said, once it gets going, I'd love to have you as a guest. Yeah, dude, I'd be more than happy. I'm always happy to be on people's shows. I think that's great. Okay, my brain's fading, so I'm going to disappear for like 2 seconds because I got 3 more panels I got to rough out, and we're getting so close. I'd hate to like botch it toward the end here. So, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to go ahead and give you guys another trailer. So I'm going to repeat the Jacobs trailer real quick, just so you have something to look at. I'm going to disappear and vape for like 2 seconds just to like have a fresh mindset again. All right. Speak clearly, it seems that only in dreams can we these things we've seen and walk around breathing things.
split at the seams.
All right, and Philip said his name is Enrique. It'll be on my YouTube channel likely. He has a channel called Easy Things to Draw. Awesome, I'll check that out. Okay, so we're gonna do a real quick. Luckily, I don't have to do like a weird color over this. Okay, so I have my base here. I'm just gonna kind of freeform it just a little bit. Okay. So this old balding man, he's got like kind of crazy, craggly hair. It's gonna have like more of a flat forehead. What was his costume? Oh my gosh. This is a tough part of historical fiction, guys. I have to kind of pull him up just to know what he was wearing again. I think we had, not Robert. That's going to be his costume. So he's got like a kind of high rimmed thing going on there. Going to have this. He's going to have like a wide rimmed thing. And then this is going to be his somewhat like, maybe that's flapping out a little bit. I think this will be like one of those back done things. Okay. And this is going to be, he's flinging that door open. We're almost like breaking his arm here for some movement. Okay. And here is his pant leg, as he's going to be, he's actually stepping onto that. So his leg will be more like that. Okay. And he's very hefty, so we want to give him a little more chunk to him. Okay. So then we're going to have our platform. It's going to tie to the base of this thing, and that's more rounded. It's more of a rounded door too, so the door is going to be rounded. It's opening up, and I'm going to have it more like that, a little bit lower of a ceiling. That's okay. This is going to be sort of the interior. We're going to see directly through. Now we're going to have our, oh, cool, there's a lantern here. That's really rad. I want to make sure we include that. A lantern. There's going to be another thing here with like, probably like there's almost like a top there. And then this sort of like tilts up like that. That's where the seats go. Very like a classier wheel. And this is going to be like the spokes, but these aren't like bicycle spokes. They're like old wagon spokes. So they just alternate like that. Then we have our, it seems like the platform's almost here for like the seat. I'm imagining it's like that. It's interesting that he has like a blanket over himself, but the driver in this case, but I'm going to just kind of assume. And I remember we drew him holding a, okay. That's going to be his thing that he's holding. Maybe that's too tall, so maybe his head's here. Okay, so there's our wagon, and then we were going to have Robert in the background. So I like the idea that maybe it's a little more subtle. Robert's here. And on Twitter, I got like a spam bot, but welcome, spammer, to my comments section. Did I say Twitter? On Twitch? My goodness. What does it say? Buy followers, primes, and viewers on something something. That's great. I need to get some mods on my Twitch channel. But like it's such a small channel. Like we don't have on like Twitter, I think I have, I mean, oh my gosh, I keep saying Twitter. On YouTube, I'm growing my audience quite a bit. Not like nearly as much as like Scott Cirkland or somebody like that, but it jumped pretty significantly recently since I started live streaming more. But it's funny, I also do these streams to Twitch. So I will say, if you guys are watching this on YouTube and you want to hook a friend up, make sure you're also following me on Twitch because I'd like to get more followers on there. But anyhow, I have no mods on Twitch. I probably shouldn't announce that publicly, but I haven't designated anyone as a mod on Twitch because I only have like 10 followers or something on there. Okay, so we have, but it is funny, the spam bots that kind of hit up. It seems like Twitch is very fond of the spam botting. All right, I'm pretty happy with that. I'm gonna get rid of the underdrawing. Oh no, did I draw this over the underdrawing? Where's my underdrawing? There it is. I'm gonna get rid of that, and then I think that's pretty good for what we're gonna do here. The only catch is I do want to have this tie in a little more, so maybe it'll have like, okay, so here's the last step they're gonna have. Here would be like the sidewalk. Oh no, here's the sidewalk. Here's the cobblestone. So we're gonna do some cobblestone suggestions. And then here is like building stuff. Maybe more of like the, okay. And we're gonna just kind of tone that back into the background a lot. Oh wait, why am I doing that? Very night sky-ish. And this is the cobblestone, so it's going to be making a bit of more of a, there we go. Look at that wonderfulness. Pretty happy with that for a comp. All right, so we have where's our cab is gone. Okay, this is the fun part. This next part should go relatively quick, hopefully. Let's see. I can take that off. I'm gonna move my thumbnail. Gonna merge. Okay. Now we're gonna have where did I move? Okay, my thumbnail is gonna go over here. So we're looking at number 2, which is basically going to be the same shot as before, as number 2, but it's going to have the cab. So here it is again. But it's going to be sort of, oh my goodness, this is going to be like a merge of a few things. Okay. So this will be a merge of a few things. One is it's going to be the back of the cab. Oh, let me double check the cab real quick. Yeah, okay, the back's pretty flat, so that's good. So that this will be the back of the cab. I don't want it to. And this is going to say, what did I use for the sound effect on the last one? For the final? I'm going to look at that real quick. I think it was clatter, clatter. Okay. So this is going to, originally I was going to have it say click, but it's going to say clatter, 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 clatter. Those will be in white on the final. Okay, so then that's going to say clatter, clatter, clatter. We're going to see the rest of the stairwell here. We're going to finish up the stairwell. And we definitely want to do more of that kind of cool. There we go. We're getting there. Pretty easy rough there. Is this making sense, you guys? Oh, Philip said, I've got you on Twitch. I get your live notifications for both. Awesome. Thank you, Philip. All right, so we have Robert remains huddled across the street watching. I don't think we need to see that. Him huddled watching. The door to number 50 is going to open wider. Oh, this will be wider. Okay. Every time. I think it's going to be simple. It's not. Okay. I'm kind of pumped about how it's coming out. Like, to me, you know, you're having an okay art day when you're not like totally hitting complete brick walls, you know? Like where you're making progress and it makes sense. The tough days are like when you're doing art and just nothing comes out right. Luckily, I've had none of those since starting this project, which is really good. Because those days are frustrating and you have to kind of push through them. If you guys ever have those, just push through it. Okay, she's going to be gesturing now. So now she's like, come on. So this hand is going to be like that. It's like a... And this is going to have that stairwell again. I kind of like the idea of there being like a kind of bright light here. In fact, I'm going to put that in there. Almost like it's going to be creeping through the doorway. And then this is going to be him crossing the street. So, okay. So we just have to do that, merge that down. I'm really excited about how this is coming out because, yeah, I mean, we're almost done, which is cool. Usually my heart out is at 2, but if I can finish before 2, that's great. Because as long as to me, I'm happy as long as every day I'm showing my publisher something new. That's kind of my hope. So let's see on the thumbnail. Okay, what was the thumbnail going to be? Was it from the same angle? I think it makes most sense from the same angle. Yep, it is. He's going to be running. Okay, so we're going to have Robert running. So in that case, what we're going to do is I'm going to turn on Robert's costume. And then we're going to do this last one. It's going to be much smaller. Now we're going to see across the street Robert running. And we're going to erase out a lot of this and this clatter business. Okay, so now we've got I think this is going to be really fun to finish up. It might take a while to draw the final of this page because it is a lot of characters and stuff, but the nice thing is there's a lot of repetition, and so that alone might kind of simplify the process a little bit. I know that this is going to have kind of more of a gate from what I remember of the stairwell. I think this had like a fire thing. I know this one had like a more kind of rounded entryway and some kind of pillars or something. So we're just going to kind of fill in those voids for now. It's not the most clear. Maybe I should do that a little lower, where it's like you have this and then maybe some windows. Okay. So then we have this, and that had a kind of gated area to it. Now we're going to have our street, which I think had like these old tiles are interesting, where they kind of had like a different pattern to them. And this is going to be the sort of This is going to be Robert running. Let me see what my gesture was on my thumbnail of that. Oh, that's good. I actually like that pose. So I'm going to move that over there, and then we're going to get back to it. I like the idea of him running. So it's going to be, he's running, but with his top hat. Arms back. This is holding the letter. This arm is totally forward. Maybe it's here to have a stronger silhouette. And I have this cape type thing flying back. Since this arm is back, this foot would be forward. And I actually like the idea. Let's exaggerate it. Have like that foot way forward. And then this foot is back, but let's exaggerate it and have that foot way back. I don't like that back foot. Okay. Let's correct that back foot. So we'll do this. So it's a little more realistic, like set back here. That might even be too exaggerated still. Okay. I don't like this back foot. I need to just draw it through. There we go. Much better. Okay. So we're going to have this be like shaded. This will be his darker kind of thing going on here. This is going to be this, and then this will be his beard. And he's going to be in a, let's do a lamppost here. I know we had a lamppost before, but maybe we can do it a little more in the foreground, like almost like we're seeing it above a lamppost. I actually like that a lot. Good compositional choice there. Okay. Now we're going to do, and maybe this is like bright, like we have some light coming from that. And then maybe we have, it's almost like that, you know, where it's like we have a little bit of a exaggerated, oh, that's great. Okay. So we're looking at it almost like from the lamppost from across the street that we saw. And then this is going to be this will be the sidewalk. And then again, cobblestones. Ooh, I like this. This is definitely where you know it's a rough, because it's like these cobblestones are so freaking rough right now, but that's okay. I mean, we're really working out the composition, and I'm really happy with that. Like even that last minute thing where it's like, okay, now we know we're gonna have a little bit of this going on. I like that a lot. So there's Robert rushing to get in there. And we're gonna have like more of like a, okay, there's the light source. Okay. And it's gonna be more kind of cobblestone-y areas. Cobblestone-y areas. I'm actually really happy with that. That a lamppost really makes a difference for like a light source too, you know? Because now he can be like much more defined by like shadow. Okay. And we'll work that out more, but check that out. That's very cool. All right. I think that actually makes sense to me for a thumbnail. Now we're going to merge that down. So now we have, I'm so happy with this. I might be crazy for being happy with this, but I'm very happy with this. Okay. I'm going to move, we're going to just do real quick rain. Which is, again, it's raining in the scene. Wait, why is this not showing up? Ah, there we go. Yeah, it's raining in the scene, so we're going to have a lot of very quick rain. And we're just using like white lines, for the rain. Just notice the time, Philip said. I have to hit the sack, but I did want to mention that I'll have to likely get your book through Amazon. Still issues going through the comic shop. Hey, no problem, buddy. You can pre-order it on Amazon. It's if you, I think you're talking about Jacob's Apartment. I think it's available for pre-order right now. So, yeah, if you just look for Jacob's Apartment, Joshua Kemble, and just make sure it's spelled like you see down there. You should be able to pre-order it. And honestly, all pre-orders really help. Let's see here. Okay, so then we've got here, this isn't going to have like, okay, so the rain was going a different direction. So now we want it to be going the opposite. Does that make sense? Because we flipped the viewpoint. So it wouldn't make sense for the rain to be kind of coming. And also the rain's not going to overlap her. Okay, so back to the rain. Again, we're just doing roughs here. Then we got our rain. Rain's going to be hitting this guy. Pow! Take that, smack. Oh no! And this guy too. And his horses, Just raining on everything, you guys. Okay. So now we've got. Oh, is this rain? Okay, this is the other direction. So again, rain's going to be coming this way. Rain's really going to splat on the ground there. Okay. Now we got a rain again. That's a funny thing to kind of try to remember. The direction the rain is going would be flipped when we do a flipped viewpoint. Okay. So then we're going to keep going. Got like rain coming. Rain's going to be really bouncing off that. And then similarly, we got our rain. He's running through it. And we are done. We have our rough. Ladies and gentlemen, we have our rough. Literally no type on it, which is really cool. So this will be all sequential. So first shot is the door to number 50 opens, and then she's seeing Robert standing out there, closes the door. Elizabeth's dad comes out. You see the maid in the background. And then panel 7 is him getting in the cab. You see Robert through the window. And then the cab takes off. The maid's like gesturing to Robert, like, come in, come in. And then Robert's running in. I think that works really well. Philip said, I'll catch you in your next live stream, probably. Well, I appreciate you coming on all the live streams. And to be honest, we're at the 3-hour mark, and that's going to do it. We finished our rough. Yes. Rough finishes. Thank you guys for hanging out with me as I got my work done. And this is pretty exciting too, because that means I get an hour and a half of extra sleep tonight. So thanks to everybody who watched this. If you haven't yet, hit subscribe, hit the bell so you get notifications. Like I said, on Twitch, make sure you're following me. On YouTube, make sure you're subscribed. You've hit the bell and all that. In the comments section below, let me know your guys' thoughts on traditional publishing. I'm kind of curious because I know I talked about that a little bit on this stream, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on independent versus traditional publishing, going with a publisher versus self-publishing. To me, I think they're both valid. Speaking of, make sure you order this book. It comes out in June, and I mean, it's beautiful. I'm really proud of it. Jacob's Apartment. Oh, here, let me full cam. Okay, so Jacob's Apartment is a story about Jacob and Sarah. They're roommates. Both are going through a tumultuous time in their lives as young adults. Jacob is questioning his faith as his father is sick and dying with cancer. And Sarah is going through like sort of tumultuous relationships, having one night stands and sort of questioning herself. As they're both going through these phases of questioning, they find that they have a lot of commonality in their pursuit of and love of literature. And as they start finding commonality, they also start having overlapping dreams in which things like their childhood stuffed animals and stuff start kind of interacting. It's a slice of life coming of age story in the vein of Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind or Ghost World. And I think that if you are a fan of doomed romance stories, this will be right up your alley. So look for this little dinosaur, graphicmundi.org, and you can pre-order this. Like Philip said, if you have trouble getting it through your local bookstore, you can also get it on Amazon. You can get it on barnesandnoble.com. You can get it on pretty much any online book retailer, but this is distributed through Diamond, so it should be available at every local comic shop and Barnes and Noble and stuff like that for release in June 7th. So yeah, keep an eye out for it. Request that your local bookstore order it, and if anything, at least pre-order it. I really appreciate it. Every order counts. And Philip, orders on Amazon count a ton too, because that Amazon ranking has a lot to do with how your book sells. So if you guys can get that ranking number up there, that'd be great. The more pre-orders, the higher the rank. The higher the rank, the more people see it. So anyhow, I appreciate you guys appearing on or checking out the stream. Also, if you can, speaking of Amazon and picking up books, buy Two Stories, my graphic novel about faith and mental illness. It explores my journey dealing with depression, as well as caregiving for somebody with panic disorder, and growing up as a kid in a Christian school and kind of the hypocrisy at those schools, as well as growing up as a total comic geek and dressing up as Indiana Jones for an entire year before people even knew what the word crossplay was. So that'll do it. Pre-order this, or not pre-order. You can order this on Amazon. So those are my two books. I'm working on this third, and I really appreciate you guys and all your support as I've been making this. Doing these streams has been really fun. And tune in tomorrow, because this right here is a rough, and tomorrow we'll see how far we can get to, like, maybe iterating either thumbnails and doing research for the next page, or we'll be taking this to like pencil and color.
depending on what what time allows for. So that will do it. I will see you guys on the next live stream, and I appreciate you all, and I hope you guys are having a creative time, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.